All right, we're live. A&P-REACTS, Pedro here, and we're here with Andy from Thaurorod. How are you today?
How you doing, guys? I'm doing great. Thank you very much. How about you?
I'm tired. I'm tired. I went to a show last night, so I'm tired, but I'm hyped. I'm hyped.
As you tend to be after a show.
Yeah, you know, like after a show, you go through like a peak and then you go through a valley, and now I'm getting my second wind. Because I've been looking forward to this interview all week. I really wanted to talk to you about all sorts of stuff. Because I discovered you guys with this new album that you released, and I absolutely love this album. So I have a lot of, as a listener, as a fan, I have a lot of questions to ask you. So I'm really excited. I got my second wind.
That's really awesome. Personally, I just want to know more about your kitchen, man, because I watch your videos and it's like all the stuff that's behind you on that. I mean, it's like all the baseball caps and everything. That's like a shrine, man. That's awesome.
My wife is going to kill me because she's always on my case about like, why the hell do you do videos in the kitchen area? And now you've created like a shrine with these like little figurines and the hats behind. And she's like, we can't get, and we have, I don't know if you ever noticed, but there's an Iron Maiden flag that kind of sits behind. She goes, I can't have people over because it's like, you have like a metal shrine in the kitchen. Like, what the hell's wrong with you guys? So now, thank you. You just brought that conversation back up again.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to provide a service.
All right. Like, the first question I have for you is, in September, you guys announced that you were signing with Drakkar Entertainment. How did that, because you guys weren't with them for the two previous albums, so how did that relationship come about?
Okay, so the relationship came about through our contact with AFM Records, with whom we were in negotiations with initially. And since AFM and Drakkar work out of the same building, basically it was just a natural kind of progression to go from one place to the next place. And I mean, we're really happy with the label so far. The deal was really equitable and fair. There's a lot of like faith and enthusiasm, which is really cool. Our previous label, Noise Art, had a deal for the first two albums, chose not to continue that deal for business reasons. And mostly, to be honest, it was some sales of Anti-Inferno, which didn't really meet business projections. And so we kind of decided to part ways. But AFM were cool enough to kind of get into contact with us, and we started, dealing with them. And then eventually they got passed on to Drakkar, and the rest is history, isn't it?
Now, you guys signed with a new label, and then about a month later, I believe it was about a month later, you announced that you guys are going to be releasing a new album. So my question is, were you guys working on a new album even before you had the deal? Or was that quick that you guys signed the deal and then, you had it almost like a month later, you had an album?
No, for sure. I mean, it wasn't just like an outline or anything. The album was completely finished far ahead of time. This album's been a long time coming, but it was actually recorded very early on. I think I was finished with the vocal sessions, which is usually like, apart from lead guitars, like the last thing that happens. And that was already done in like September of 2015. So the whole package got like carefully constructed in the following year, 2016, as far as like mixing, mastering, artwork, photography, and so on. And for us, it was really important that we managed to do those things to like a professional level ourselves. And we gave ourselves the goal, the task, to kind of self-mix, self-master, self-produce. And that took a lot of time to get to a level where we were ready to share it with the world. But by the time, of course, we signed with Drakkar, we knew exactly what we were putting out, and that allowed them to have a lot of confidence in the album, which is really cool.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So they pretty much, before you guys signed the deal, you guys had the you guys had the album pretty much ready. They were able to kind of get a glimpse into what their first release with you guys was going to be.
Exactly. I mean, everything was done as far as like artwork and as far as ideas.
The artwork?
Everything was done. I mean, the idea, the actual like execution of the artwork was paid for by label money, but the storyboarded concept on which the artwork was based was done beforehand. So we knew that it was going to be a ship, it was going to be arriving to the coast of gold. We knew that one side of the ocean was going to be stormy, the other was going to be sunny, all of those things. And then the execution was actually paid for by the label. Great artist, Sofia Dankova, can't say enough about her. We found her on artstation.com, which is a great place to find artists online. So that was really great.
I also noticed one detail on the board. You have a Finnish and a Swedish flag.
Yes.
I don't know if a lot of people have noticed that detail. I noticed that detail the moment I got the album, and I think that's really cool because I don't know if a lot of people know, but the band is made up of some members are from Finland and some are from Sweden, right?
Yeah, let's not beat around the bush. I'm the only guy who's from Sweden, so I live in Stockholm, Sweden. Then the rest of the guys are basically based around the general Helsinki area in Finland. And it was really cool when I first got to see like the final production of the artwork. I saw that as well, and it brought a little tear to my eye. It's just, like Finland and Sweden in that union of like awesome metal, two like really great metal nations making something together. It's just, man, it was destined to be great. It was awesome.
See, I thought that was a really cool touch. It's one of those little details that may go unnoticed to a lot of people, but for those that do notice, I think they're going to find it super cool. I thought it was a really, like I said, a really cool detail on that album artwork.
Yeah, plus the fact that she also included like pictures of us on the beach. So in front of the ship on the album cover, you can actually see the six of us in the band, and it's like, and she actually did little miniature portraits of like myself and Emil and Lasse and Pasi and Jonas and everything. And those guys actually look like us. They stand like us, and they've like posed like us, and they have the hair color that we do and everything. So it was just like the cover is just really nicely executed with lots of little touches like that. So that's, all honor to Sofia there. She did a great job.
Now, I remember seeing a comment from you guys, I think it was on your Facebook page, that, and I think you mentioned it today already, that this album was really a labor of love.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Like, what do you guys mean by that? I know that I'm sure every album you guys have done has been a labor of love, but for you guys to say that about this specific one, there has to be something special there.
Well, I mean, if we're just going to be frank, this isn't something that we just scribbled down on a piece of paper and at 3 a.m. and published. Because some of the great hit songs, it's like, well, this was written in 10 minutes in the back of the studio. This has grown over time, and we've put in real work into this album, collaborated on the songs, chewed them over, thought about them, carefully given this like entity that we've been creating form and shape, and by taking everything that we're good at, each and every one of us, and contributing to it, and so on. So it's been like a great experience. It took a long time, but it's time that we invested, and it's time we'll get in return the next time around, since now we know how to produce, now we know how to mix to a certain level, and now it's just about surpassing that level, using everything we've learned along the way. So it really has been like a several-year transformational journey for the band that this album is like a product of.
I think it shows. Honestly, I think this album is, I'm going to go on a limb here and say this. I don't know if you're going to agree with me, but this is your strongest album to date. I mean, I think from the lyrics, the music, the way you guys put it together, the song selection, the order of the songs in the album, it's super, super strong. I remember when I first listened to the album and I was getting ready to do the album review, I was having a hell of a time choosing top 3 songs. I mean, I could pretty much
that's a happy
close my
problem,
eyes. Yeah, I could close my eyes and just pick like any random 3. Like, I mean, like, it's so strong. Did you guys have a sense of that once the work was finished and you could sit back and listen to it?
Definitely. I mean, the sound is cohesive. So whereas sometimes Ante Inferno could feel like the product of a band that had written songs over time. So you could tell that songs from one period weren't similar to songs from another period, or songs from one songwriter weren't similar to songs from another songwriter. We all now have experience in writing songs and getting to know each other. And I think the album really reflects this. So the really cool thing about having played together for a while, I mean, I've been in the band for 6 years.
Oh, I think the image.
Each other's person. Excuse me?
Yeah, the image froze there for a little bit. We missed your last 5 seconds.
All right. I think I said something on the order of, I've been in the band for 6 years now. And the thing is, you learn each other's musicality and personality. So that opens up like whole new avenues. I can write a drum line that I know that Jonas is going to be able to play. It's going to speak to his strengths. Posse can write a vocal melody that he knows that's going to suit my voice because they know who the singer is this time. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome, great. So it allows us to kind of put our strengths forward and put everybody's best side forward. And it's because we put in the time. Every time you go on stage together, you learn each other, and there is no substitute for that. I always say no knowledge without mileage, and that's we have the miles under the belt now, and that's why the album reflects it.
So this album, what was the nitty gritty in terms of the creative process behind it, in terms of the lyrics, of the music, the concept? Like, how did you guys decided to go down this road? What was the creative juices flowing when you guys sat down to create this album?
Well, first of all, there's no single creative process. There's no like trademarked process that all songs have to go through. The songs have come about a bunch of different ways. A lot of the time, one guy in the band will write an entire song outright with everybody's parts and everything, and then kind of presents the song to the rest of the band. I did that in 2 cases, the songs Feed the Flame and Into the Flood. It was amazing to me to just kind of send out MP3s that I'd recorded in my own home studio. No sheet music, no MIDI files. I just kind of send out the MP3s and I get back a sound file like a couple of weeks later saying, oh, you mean like this? And the guys just played everything. I mean, it's like perfectly. Every chord inversion on the guitar, every keyboard phrase, all the drums, everything. I mean, these guys are absolute machines. And I'm in awe of that ability. But yeah, sometimes we do that. Sometimes a song will kind of come over time and be more collaborative. A lot of the time you start with a riff or something, and then that riff kind of puts you in a state of mind, and that state of mind will recall a memory or like a historical event or a book or a movie or musical or whatever. And then the rest of the song comes from the need to tell that story and what that story needs. So it's very much about the story for us.
You just hit on a point that I wanted to talk to you about, which is the fact that you said you're in Sweden, the rest of the band is pretty much in Finland. Mm-hmm. How does that affect that creative process? You said you sent some files. Does it make things a little bit more difficult to work together and working on putting an album together when you're separated in 2 different countries?
Okay, so I would say that in many ways that it impacts the flow very positively in that it forces you to be structured. I mean, obviously the negative aspects are there. We can't just sit in a room and kind of jam a song out, but it also forces us to be kind of more project oriented, more structured. It forces you to actually record ideas when you get them, to send them out, to listen to them yourself as you're recording them, to have a process for gathering opinions, to have a process for reaching consensus. And, sometimes distance helps as well, because it's easy when you're all in the same room to have an idea and kind of a shared experience of what an album is. And that kind of colors your ability to objectively relate to that album. And then it's good. It's a good thing when some guy from Sweden comes along and says, hey, why did you guys do that? And you kind of have to ask yourself, oh yeah, why did we do that? And I think in the end that distance kind of helps, because it's one person that wasn't part of that process that can kind of give you input on that process, which you wouldn't have if everybody was in the process.
I see what you mean. Like if everybody's in the room, everybody kind of gets, blinded by what they're doing within the group. It's like, exactly. Masses become blinded to their own creativity. Exactly. So the way you look at it, see, when I first found out about this dynamic, I thought it was actually more of a negative, but the way you're presenting it now, it seems to me more of a positive. You see it as a positive, not as a negative at all.
Absolutely, because it prepares you for the process of giving the music over to someone else, like an audience or a label or a promotion company. So it's very similar because you've already done a prototype of that process when you have to give it to the rest of the band or to the singer or to somebody else. You've already gone through that mental process once. And so when the label gets it, you're at least not going to get the obvious reactions, which is like, why are the cymbals so loud? Because somebody's already said that once.
Now, in this album, I when I first put the album on, I thought I was going to listen to a concept album because of the artwork, even the names of the songs kind of had a vibe that led itself into a concept album. It's not a concept album, but there's some really, really amazing songs, amazing lyrics in this album. I mean, really cool storytelling from your part. How was the songwriting for this specific album?
Well, if we just touch on the fact about concept albums, I'd say that definitely the idea of a concept album is not off the table for us. We don't kind of consider it weird to do a concept album, but it's important to kind of just realize that if you do a concept album, it's because you're telling a story that you find that you can't package any other way. You can't package it in a 4-minute song. You need for it to grow over either several volumes or an entire album, or whatever. But the problem is you sacrifice all the other stories which you could tell to tell that one. And I'm not sure we'd want to do that for a while, because there's too many really cool stories to tell, like especially taken from history, which are cool to kind of tell in the context of an album. But maybe at some point we'd definitely like to do a concept album, because we're definitely about the story. That's what we like. So
it's interesting what you said now about the concept album. I never looked at it from that perspective, that you're sacrificing all these other stories just to create one really long. I never looked at it from that perspective at all. It's really interesting. I really think it's a cool way of looking at it. And I'm thinking, you wouldn't be, if you guys would be to record a concept album, it would have to be something that would come naturally from what you're telling me. I don't think you would physically say to each other, okay, guys, next album is a concept album. Now let's sit down and write one.
Exactly. It's only when you're in the process of just kind of trying to put a song together and trying to tell a story, and you kind of finish the song and you kind of go like, man, I'm squeezing this story. I need this to grow. And then you can kind of decide, is it going to grow into just like a part 2, or is it going to grow into something else? Or do you pick up the story in the next album, or do you just go, nah, screw it. We need 50 minutes to tell the story. So we're just going to make the whole album into this one story. But then you're sacrificing a lot of other things, and that needs to be a decision that you're okay with in that case.
Sounds good. A question I have to ask you about one of my favorite songs of this album, which is Commonwealth Lives. Mm-hmm. You wrote the lyrics to that song.
I did, yeah.
Tell me as much as you can about that song. It's absolutely in my top 3. Like I said, I had a hard time picking 3, but after listening to the album several times, I said, okay, I really need to narrow this down. And that one was one of the first ones that really pop up to me. I really enjoyed that song.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, let me just plug this idea that we have. We on the band's Facebook page, on the Thaurorod Facebook page, we actually do lyric explanation videos, 1 per week. So we've done, I think, 3 so far, and Commonwealth Lives is one of these videos. So if you guys want to see like a succinct 3.5-minute video that tells what I'm about to tell in better production, go to the band's Facebook page and check out that video, and stay tuned for the next couple of weeks, because we're going to be telling you about all the songs. But okay, the song is about a very interesting part of British history. So Great Britain, the country, went in the middle of the 17th century, the 1640s and 1650s. In less than a 20-year period, went through 3 civil wars, and went from being a monarchy to executing the king, becoming a republic, and then deciding, almost like democratically, to put the king's son back into power as a constitutional monarch, all in less than 20 years. So an incredibly divisive period, and indirectly, it led to a lot of things, like the pilgrims that went to America and celebrated the first Thanksgiving with their triangular hats and all that stuff. That's all like an indirect consequence of those Puritans, which followed this uprising and kind of needed to find somewhere else to go once the king was put back into power. So indirectly, it led to like America and the founded colonies there, a completely new way of interpreting monarchy. So I've always kind of been fascinated with that really short period of history. And so the song is about a man, a follower of the guy who brought this revolution about, whose name was Oliver Cromwell, and the story of him in the Tower of London awaiting his execution. But he knows that the actions that they've taken have forever changed the way that the monarchy works and put power where it belongs, which is in the hands of the people democratically. Because even though the king was brought back to power, a constitutional monarchy isn't the same thing as a monarchy. And now the king rules, but only under the approval of Parliament. So that's like a little political lesson right there, which we managed to pack into a really fast power metal song.
Yeah, that song is like, I mean, the riffs in that song, the speed of the song. there's nothing bad about that song. That song was just completely blew me away when I was listening to the album. And then when you add the lyrics, the historical content to it, made for a really cool power metal song.
Yeah, and the video tells it so well. The company we worked with to produce the video understood the lyrics on a very good level, and so the video really kind of creates that story. So they created a dungeon for us. We went to this amazing castle in Turku that had like actual dungeons with actual torture equipment still there and everything. And so we just went there and just had a blast for a whole day just making this video. So I definitely urge you guys, if you haven't seen it, go see the Commonwealth Lives video. It definitely helps the story along. It helps like the lyrics come to life.
So that video was not done with green screens or anything like that.
No, there's absolutely no green screens in that video. That was an authentic on-location shoot in a medieval castle in Finland.
Wow.
Yeah, awesome, isn't it? That's the perks of the job.
I thought that was like in your basement or something with some green screens, something that. Like it's the video is incredible. Once again, like you said, if for folks that haven't seen the video, I highly recommend checking out the video. Yeah,
so definitely do that.
Another question about the album.
Yes.
What song? This is a two-part question. Okay, so first part is which song is the hardest for you to deliver vocally, and then the second part of that question is which one do you enjoy the most?
Okay, so first of all, a lot of these songs are still untested in a live situation. We haven't played that many shows since the release of the album, so there are still kind of landmines waiting to be found, I'm sure. But I remember when we were doing vocals for the album, recording for the album, I was actually sick when I traveled to Finland the first time, and I kind of knew, man, this isn't going to work. I mean, I had like a fever, and we got a few songs done in a weekend, but it didn't sound very good. And I went back a couple of weeks later to do it again, and I had all these negative expectations from just like doing so poorly the last time around, and I remember just how easy everything was because I was like in good shape, I was healthy, I was but from like a live perspective, I can tell you the Commonwealth Lives, as we just talked about, has very few breathing pauses because it's so fast. There's this like one line that goes, through all this fighting, he would not become king with providence broken. He gave us free hand, and from Marston Moor to the whole civil war, we all made a stand for our glorious land, a torrent of wind, and so on. And it goes on and on and on, and there's no breathing pause in that. So when you're doing it live and you're jumping around and you're kind of like, you're out of breath, delivering that length of a line is very, very tough. So you kind of have to break it and breathe quickly and then just go on. Cannibal Island has some really high full power vocals in the chorus as well. So yeah, there's some challenges there.
That was going to be my question about Cannibal Island, because that was one of my top three. And I when I was listening to that song, I was like, holy crap. Like, I mean, I honestly, I remember saying this on the album review. I needed a water bottle after listening to the album. Like, I mean, so I can only imagine you guys.
Can I just say, you did say something in the album review, which I thought was really funny. You said that like the drummer of this band has to kind of like pace himself and take it easy because he couldn't possibly do like a 2-hour set of this music. You have no idea. This guy, he's in like 4 black metal bands, and he just does blast beats all the time. And I saw him once in this Finnish club in Nosturi, and he was just doing a sound check. And basically, he's just like idly talking to the sound engineer about like what he wants to hear more or less of, while like doing and he's like, yeah, a little bit more bass, thank you, that's great, that's a little bit more keyboards, thank you, that's great. And just like the guy he's a machine. I don't understand how he does it. So, but you also asked me what my favorite song to do live is, and I have to say 24601 is the best because it has like really intimate moments in the beginning and the end. You can kind of get up close to the audience and really kind of perform, not just sing, and some really cool breakdowns in the middle and everything. So 24601 is like definitely the strongest one to sing live, I'd say.
I think that song is so catchy. I remember we did the reaction video for that song. That was the song that introduced me to the band.
Yeah, that's where it all got started.
That's what all got started. And I felt that song was like one of those, we call it earworms. You know, like you listen to the song, the chorus gets stuck in your ear, and then for the rest of the day, you're like 24601 2. Like, I mean, I spent, I think we recorded that video on a Saturday. I think I spent the whole weekend walking around the house randomly, 24601 2. It's impossible for you to get it out of your ear. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's great news for us, because it means that we did our job well. It worked.
Yeah, and then the moment you forget about it, and then it comes back on your iPod, and you go, crap, now it's stuck in days, you know?
Okay, so that means that from now on, we could actually use 24601 as a cure, because it's so catchy. So if you have another song in your head that you want to get rid of, you heard some stupid song on MTV or something, and you go, man, that's stuck in my head. Put on 24601, and then you'll be 24601 instead.
Yeah, that's a cure idea. I like that idea. I think that song. I remember one of our viewers commented on the video and said, "This is the new Jenny." So, like, I don't know if you remember, but I can't remember what the phone number was, but it was, Jenny, and then it had a phone number. That song, and it's very similar in terms of how catchy it is, because you're dealing with numbers, so it's really easy to get that number stuck in your head. And oh, man, like, I absolutely love that song. Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. So do we. It's a great song. One of my favorites to play live, as I said. So
now, when you guys get ready to go on the road, like you said, you don't have a lot of practice with these new songs live because you haven't had the chance to do it. Do you guys actually take some time to get some rehearsals in and prepare before actually going on the road? Especially, I mean, with the old stuff, I'm sure you guys are familiar with and comfortable, but more so with the new album.
Well, that is one of the things that's kind of difficult to do with distance. I mean, you can't really practice the same way. Obviously, the guys do like instrumental practices, but we practice less than you would think. Everybody basically just practices in their own house. And this is something I've honed with some of the other projects I'm involved in, like Aeon Zen, for instance, where I'm the only guy who's not from the UK, and so on. So I'm kind of used to this idea of being a guy who just shows up on stage and just like does a sound check, and then we do the show. And just being like really professional. Everybody does the stuff in their own. So we just do one practice session the same day as the show. We just run through the set, pack our things up, and then go to the show. And so that's pretty much all the practice I get with the band. And then obviously the guys will practice on their own a little bit before that. And I'll practice alone in my car. I drive to and from work and just yell my lungs out pretty much every day.
And in the shower, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's a star in the shower. The reverb is excellent.
I'll tell you, I sound almost as good as you in the shower, at least to me.
And that's all that matters. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, so in the ear of the beholder as well, I guess.
Before we came on, we were talking about funny shirts, and I saw one the other day that said "Beauty is in the eye of the beer holder." So maybe that's the
well-documented beer goggle effect, responsible for many a failed one-night stand and many a successful one as well, I'm sure.
I have one last question for you. I don't want to take too much of your time today, and that question is: 2018. What's the plans? Festivals, tours? What do you guys have in the pipeline that you can share with us?
Okay, so there is no pipeline. First of all, we're still looking at plans. Unfortunately, for now, we are without a booking agency entirely. So we're pretty straight out with the fact that at the moment, there's no plans for any large-scale touring. We hope to finalize the deal soon, but we'll see. In the meantime, we've taken it upon ourselves to book more local gigs, shows in Finland, Sweden, places like that. And there's a few shows already booked for April and May, which we are going to announce on March the 9th, which is in 1 week. So if you want to know more about these shows, then please do visit the band's website and Facebook page. And we'll see if bigger and better things are on the way.
I'm sure they are. I mean, you would have to be deaf to not listen to the quality that you guys put in this album. This Coast of Gold, to me, is pure gold.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot to us. You guys have been so cool to us ever since that first reaction video. So it's I'm honored to be here today, and I think you guys do an amazing job.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you agreed to do this, because I really wanted to talk to you and get a little bit of the insight into this album, because like I said, I enjoy doing these interviews, but I enjoy them more doing it with bands that I really have an appreciation for their work. Otherwise, I don't feel like it's fair for the band or for myself or for the viewers. And the moment I heard your album, I was absolutely hooked. From a person who loves power metal, and my son is big Sabaton fan, big into power metal. That album came into this house and it's not leaving anytime soon. I mean, it's
That's
like,
please do give my best to your son. I think that like the level of energy he has in your guys' videos is amazing. It's just so cool to see someone who's you know, in that age group, who's that young, who's getting into this musical genre. You know, there's still hope for the world, and I wish you all the success. I think you guys have an amazing channel, and the same thing goes for us in return. It's so much cooler to do an interview with someone who, you know, kind of believes in the band and likes it, and so on, rather than someone who just reads questions off of paper and just, you know, doesn't really give a crap.
I never heard the album.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this today, and all the best of luck. And one last thing.
Yes.
Anything that comes down the pipeline, anything that you guys want to get out there, please let me know. We'll do our best to reach out and get your word to the masses, at least to the masses that listen to us. So we'll do our best to help you guys out with anything you need. So,
man, I'll do anything to be on camera anyway, so that's great. I mean, just we'll definitely get the memo. That's cool. Thank you for having me.
Maybe one day this is what we'll do. Since you're Swede, I'm Portuguese. We both love football, I'm sure. Well, maybe I do more than you. Maybe I'm going on a limb here.
Music saved me from sports, so
yeah. But maybe one day we'll live stream the two of us watching a Portugal-Sweden game. That would be absolutely hilarious.
That sounds great. I'd love to do that. You can teach me about the offside rule and stuff like that. That'd be great.
Yeah. And my son will wear his Ibrahimovic t-shirt because he's a huge Ibrahimovic fan. So he'll wear his.
Well, he's actually from a city that's not too far from where I was born. I mean, we're both from Bosnia-Herzegovina. So me and Zlatan, we're like this, you know.
Yeah, you guys actually have a lot in common.
Yeah.
All right, Andy, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Take care. All the best for you and the band. Say hi to the guys for me.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who's been watching. You guys are awesome.
Take care.